All right, and welcome everyone to the Ginette Biro Podcast. I'm Ginette Biro, and thank you as always every week for joining me for insights, interviews, and all the goodness as we dive into the world of exploring consciousness. So thank you so much for joining me and allowing me to be what I like to call your ascension guide, for that matter. If we could use that title today, we'll see. Anyways, I wanted to talk to you and do a mid-month update of the energies of May, because they have been a lot. And in this mid-month update, I was chatting with Spirit, and they were telling me about one of the most important messages to bring through right now is for you to take ownership and accountability to your frequency. So I'm going to get to that in a minute. But let me start with the month of May. So May, remember, 2 podcasts ago, I talked about how the month of May connected to the numerological number 5, and 5 is all about change, right? So month of May is the 5th month of what 2021, when you add the numbers together in numerology, again, that makes a number 5 year. So we have tons of change happening this year on the planet, and we're also in a month that highlights that change. And so, astrologically speaking, according to the stars, the science of the stars, the first half of May was to be mild, and the second half of May, which we are now just turning the corner into, is going to be more intense. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I have been feeling this first part of May has been really intense in its own right. So I kind of was saying to Spirit, I was like, guys, what do you have in store for the second half of May if the first half has been kind of crazy? Right? And the thing that they keep saying, and even they're mentioning it to me right now, is the idea of revelations, meaning the revealing of truth, the revealing of information, is going to be intense in the second half of May. So brace yourselves for that, not in a way of fear, but in a way of when it comes out, you say, that's what they were talking about. Instead of getting caught up in the, oh my gosh, this is crazy, this is too much. And we run kind of this circuit loop of fear or overwhelm. Instead, we can say, oh yeah, right. This is part of the revelations, the revealings of truth that they were talking about. And the reason why this is so important is everything to do with our wellness, and I'm really going to try and explain this really clearly, so follow me. Everything to do with our wellness is based on frequency. Now, that is when we are still in a phase of our journey of choice. So I'm going to go to the end and work my way back. If someone has a life plan in which they are approaching an exit point, a death point, and they are on their last one, 95% is saying they're going to be hitting that exit point. There's only 5% of maneuverability of choice within that. Okay? There still is a percentage, but it's 5%. So in that case, somebody is pretty much on a trajectory to be exiting the planet, right? The same can be said for people that are sometimes on this trajectory of deep life lessons. If they haven't been learning the lessons in smaller bits as they've been moving through their path, they are on track for a bigger challenge or a bigger blow for them to grow through and expand. Okay, these are on the big life journey aspects that we choose when we are on the other side, creating our blueprint with our guides before we come earthside. So there's that. Some of those are distinct key pieces of life journeys that are probably going to happen. However, like I always say, there is no black or white. It is shades of gray. Sometimes the probability is really low. Sometimes the probability is really high. Now, that aside, if we listen or if we take into account our availability of choice in this life, the choice that we have for our happiness, our health, our joy, the way that we float through life, all has to do with the thoughts that we create and the vibration that we hold within our beings. So when I talked to Spirit about this, I was asking them all kinds of questions. And I was talking about the pandemic. I was talking about, the conflicting information, the overwhelm people are feeling, all of that stuff. I was talking about all of those things when I was chatting with them. And they said, Ginette, you're missing the point. because I was asking for all these answers to details. And they said, the point is, frequency determines your experience. And I said to them, okay, well, expand on that for me. And they said, frequency determines your experience because the frequency of your being will either allow you to perceive something from an avenue of positivity and open-mindedness, or a narrow view and closed-mindedness. Just as frequency determines your ability to transmute illness, just as it determines your ability to not be able to transmute it. And so frequency, meaning the rate in which our body vibrates, the rate in which our body holds itself at, has a direct correlation with how our body acts, how our mind acts, and how we float through our journey. So if we go and we look at the mind first, if you have a low frequency, a very negative view of life, the energy around that negativity is lower, right? It's a lower frequency. And so that keeps you in the pool of lower frequency, which then draws more lower frequency experiences to you and perpetuates the experience. Just like if you have a higher frequency of thought, you're swimming in a different pool, which then draws higher frequency experiences to you and perpetuates that. That's the whole key behind the secret, right? The secret is your intent, your thought draws like energy to it. Like energy draws like energy. So that's how it works for thought. And it's not as simple as some people are like, well, then wouldn't that just mean if I just don't want to be depressed anymore, then I won't be depressed anymore? Well, there are caveats to that, right? There are ways in which we can move from one pool to the other, but there's a journey in that. There's undoing of traumas. There's undoing of, repeated patterns in our lives, ways of thinking differently. So there's a process to it. But as you work your way from one frequency and mend and heal along the way, you inherently raise your frequency of thought. And thought is our greatest base frequency in our bodies that allow us to transmute. And let me explain this. If we look specifically to the body itself, the body's frequency ups its speed when the body is being fed good food, lots of water, and even less chemicals from the environment. That allows the body to not be wasting time taking out negative chemicals, harmful foods, and focus its energy instead on repairing what needs to be repaired and providing more energy and creating more mitochondria and so on and so forth. So when you're feeding it good food, you're feeding it higher vibrational energy. When you're feeding it bad food continually, you're feeding it lower vibrational energy, right? Which then attracts the feelings of feeling sluggish and crappy versus good food attracts the feelings of feeling energetic and joyful. Now, in that, our thought also has an effect on the ways in which our cells vibrate too. And our cells being the hosts for wellness, when we add energy in that is wellness in thought, we create a body that is wellness in thought. And this all goes back to the idea of Dr. Masaru Emoto, who did Messages in Water. And he froze water from different places around the world and watched how it crystallized. And when he added thought by a Post-it to these crystals, and I know I've talked about this before, but when he added it to like the beaker that it was in, he wrote a Post-it of "I love you" on it. The thought of that helped the water crystallize in a very beautiful symmetrical pattern. And the water that he froze with negative thoughts like "I hate you" didn't freeze in a beautiful symmetrical crystallized pattern. It was chaotic. And he did this in various different ways with different bases, with the emphasis on thought. And what he found was the direct correlation between thought and transformational frequency and energy. And so if we think that we are made up of water, so much water in our bodies, and the thought affects the water in those beakers, the thought affects the water that is in every single one of our cells. And every single one of our cells that has the cytoplasm is in it, when our DNA goes to replicate itself, it looks to that cytoplasm, that water in our cells, to say, hey, how is it that I want to replicate? Do I want to take the best pattern that I have? Or is it kind of a crappy environment and, well, whatever, I don't really care, I'm kind of lazy, I don't know what else to do, I'm just going to repeat this pattern. Do you see how it's all connected? And the reason why I'm kind of running this whole big loop in this is because the speed at which we vibrate affects our ability to transmute and move forward and live a fulfilled life. The speed at which we vibrate, if much of the basis of that comes from thought, you inherently get to be in the control seat of what that all looks like. What you think about yourself, how you think about the world, what you choose to take into your mind, what you choose to allow time to fester or manifest is so much up to you. We don't realize the magnitude of creators that we are. We are huge, huge creators in this world. And we create the bounty in our body, again, unless, remember in the beginning I said there are some life paths that take us on a specific journey of illness or drama or trauma based on lessons that will help the soul evolve, okay? There are some key points. However, there's also so many choice points within that, and those choice points are dictated by the thoughts that you have. And your thoughts manifest in ripples through your physical body, your mental body, your emotional body, your spiritual body. And that all comes back to thought. That all comes back to frequency. And so this is what Spirit was saying. They were saying, if it is a part of your major purpose to be a fighter for a cause, then that's part of why you're here. So you go and you stand up for the cause. If part of your purpose, though, is not as a fighter, but you're taking in all these energies and concepts and ideas and comparisons and judgments and everything, and you're completely overwhelmed by it, you're creating an energetic frequency of overwhelm, which is chaos, which doesn't allow your body the ability to transmute, to be healthy, to take foreign antibodies and transform them or get rid of them in whichever way. Your ability with thought is so much greater than you realize. And so as the energies of May continue to surface change, continue coming back to self, continue coming back to you, to what matters, to what feels like it is right for you. Come back to that. Step away from the chaos. Step away from the fear energy, because fear energy on our planet right now is so intense. There's absolutely so many things for us to look at and be aware of and be thoughtful of and make conscious choices because of it. Absolutely. But to be sitting in the energy of fear, you're creating a lower vibrational frequency for your body and your life experience. So in those situations, what can you do for you that will help you to up your frequency? Just like if your body's not feeling good, what foods can you eat to help your body feel better? Right? In a very simple way, that's a beautiful comparison. And also, how can you use your thoughts to create a better environment that you are in your own mind, body, and spirit? Frequency. So Spirit said, focus on the concept of frequency. Focus on the root control panel of frequency. Thought. That is yours. Your thought alone dictates where you go in this life, what you do, how you are, and so on. That is your control. So hopefully that helps a little bit. I know it sure helped me when I was asking all these questions and answers, and I was like, people need to know the answers to this and this and this and this, and they literally said, Ginette, you're missing the point. Frequency. And I thought, I see. So I'll leave that with you all to ponder. See how you feel about it. See where in your world you can be in the driver's seat. How can you take those thoughts and make them what you want them to be? Create the world that you want to be present in, even if it's your own little microcosm of your home, your yard, your neighborhood. Change that into what you want it to be. Start there. And so, thank you all so much for joining me today. I hope that helps. And for any other information, please do join me at avalonspirit.com. We have so much goodness on that website. We've got so many different offerings, from personal journey guides to help you guys expand your own journey in consciousness, to different courses, monthly offerings of cosmic consciousness where we dive into the world of the cosmos, to the Avalon Spirit Club where we dive into ideas of consciousness. How can you step into it? What are some introductory thoughts about it? And then there's also the Lightworker Mentorship Circle. So for those of you that are wanting to learn how to use your gifts, I am hosting a 4-week intensive. So you can definitely sign up for that. And I basically help you fill your backpack of goodies to learn how to communicate with spirit and to figure out how to do it your way. And for anything else, join us on the Avalon Spirit Facebook group. There's a ton of people on there and more people joining every day, sharing thoughts and insights and consciousness. And there you'll always be up to date of the latest offerings that we have. So thank you all so much again for joining me today. I look forward to being back here again next week. And good luck with the rest of May. We'll see how it goes. Chat soon, everyone.